Welcome. Welcome to the annual general meeting of the Ontario Professional Planners Institute. It's my pleasure as your president to call our meeting to order. I see that we have more than 25 members here representing a quorum for our meeting, so that's always a really good step at 8 some odd time in the morning after a wonderful evening of celebration. So thank you everyone for your participation this morning. I want to remind everyone that full, provisional, and retired members are eligible to vote. So that is an important piece for you to keep in mind as we have our meeting this morning. On stage, you will see the key executive at OPPI. To my far right is Steve Jefferson, who is a Southwest District Chair and also the Treasurer of OPPI. To his left is Mary Lou Tanner, President-elect of OPPI and soon to be President of OPPI. And then to her left is Marianne Rangam, Executive Director of OPPI. We would have loved to have all members of council on the table, but we are a very large council, so that envisions that we would have different table seating. So we'd like to point out to you and ask them to rise. Christine Furtada, where is Christine, please? She's there. She's getting some coffee and mingling with students as the AGM goes on. Eastern District Rep Rory Bash, could you stand up, please? Stay standing if you would. Bob Short, Oak Ridge District Rep. Northern District Rep Don McConnell, Toronto District Rep David Akawa, Lakelands District Rep Rob Armstrong, Western Lake Ontario, Rosalind Menaji, the Director of Professional Practice and Development Marilyn Radman, Director of Membership Outreach Pam White. Pam is not able to join us this morning, perhaps for the best excuse one could have. At 6:25 on October the 12th, she had her first child named Sophie, so she sends us wonderful greetings as she's looking forward to her first few days as a mother. So we know that she's here with us in all of the preparation that she's put towards this. If you do see Pam, please extend our congratulations to her. Drew Semple, if you could stand as well, please. Drew is the Director of Policy Development. Diana Risneff is the Director of Recognition. Director of Membership Services is Charles Langtree. So this, ladies and gentlemen, is the council that's been governing you for the last 2 years, and they're very much here to participate in the AGM, and we thank you so much for your ongoing work. I will ask for a round of applause for council. I'd like to also acknowledge the staff members who make OPPI what it is. We are a very small, nimble organization with a volunteer council and volunteer committees. Everything we do is volunteer except for the good fortune to have some very dedicated and committed staff who have had a longevity with us as an institute. Marianne Rangam is our Executive Director. I'm going to ask her to stand. Robert Fraser would have given you the pamphlet as you came in, and Robert is our steward of all financial wear, and he's waving from the door and puts us in an excellent position from an accountability and finance perspective. Loretta Ryan, our Director of Public Affairs, clearly very involved in the Healthy Communities work and leading our initiatives at partnership level. Brian Brophy, where's Brian? Brian is both our Registrar and our Director of Professional Standards, relatively new to us, and we're very grateful to have him on the team. Denis Duquette is the Membership Coordinator. I don't believe Denis here. He is likely back at the office carrying on the things that need to be done, along with Maria Go, the Administrative Coordinator, and Vicki Alton, the Executive Assistant. So again, I'd like to express my great thanks to our staff for their continued, ongoing, excellent work to make us all that we are. And a round of applause, please, for staff. Now, I know that we have this morning with us many of the past presidents of OPPI, and we had an opportunity to acknowledge them last evening. I would just ask them to stand for a very brief moment, wherever they are in the room. Wayne chose to sit really close to the door. I'm not sure why. Tony Escher, thank you. I know you're sitting close to a microphone. Dennis Jacobs, Val Cranmer, Phil Wong. So we're very grateful to have that continued legacy of your involvement and commitment to the profession. Andrea Gabor sends her greetings. She is the president of CIP and known to many of you. She's unfortunately unable to be with us here this morning, but did have the opportunity to be with us for part of the conference. And I know we have Christine Helm here from the CIP office, and always grateful for your company, Christine. What I would look to now is to have an approval of the agenda, which is provided to you this morning. So I'd be looking to have someone take a look at the agenda and ensure that you can support the moving forward of the agenda. So I'm going to announce the agenda. The minutes are here and the financial summary. Ron Keeble, is that your hand up to move the agenda? thank you. A seconder, Bruce Curtis. Okay. Thank you for that. Now, in terms of the AGM minutes of October 29th, 2010, looking for you, they are included in your information. To take a moment to review this if you haven't already done so, and then I'm looking for someone to move those minutes, or if there are questions, there are Forbes Simon, thank you. Forbes is moving it, and seconded by Dennis Jacobs. All in favor of the approval of the minutes? Terrific, thank you. Are there any new business items that people would like to add to this agenda as we go forward this morning? Okay, there being none, we'll carry on. We have a number of reports to provide to you. The first will be the Treasurer's report. I'd like to call upon Steve Jefferson to do that.
Thank you, Sue. Good morning, everyone. As the Treasurer of the District, this is one of my responsibilities to report on the status of the books for the past year, for 2010. OPPI received a clean bill of health for our 2010 fiscal year from Creans LaRose LLP. Council's actions in 2010 were guided by its business plan for the year, which is based on OPPI's strategic plan. Revenues and expenses were in line with our expectations. For the year ending December 31st, 2010, reflects an excess of revenues over expenses in the amount of $84,391, as detailed in the charts in the handout. In past years, OPPI Council has approved excess operational revenues to fund both the capital and strategic funds. At the beginning of 2010, the opening balance of the strategic fund was $80,914, and the capital fund was $74,979. The 2010 business plan identified that OPPI would draw on the strategic fund for the following purposes. Number one, the development of the online ethics course. Number two, the ongoing strategic fund activities, such as the OPPI Symposium in Guelph, communication strategies, and the World Town Planning Day events. OPPI is committed to replenishing the strategic and capital funds with any excess revenue over expenses. The excess revenue over expenses from the conference or symposium golf tournaments and selected district fundraising activities contribute to the scholarship fund. OPPI Council approved the audited financial statements ending December 31st, 2010 at its March 2011 council meeting. If you recall last night, Sue mentioned I attended a meeting by Skype. That was one of my reasons for joining in from a remote location by Skype, was so I could take part of that approval of the documents. It is council policy to operate within a balanced budget. With the help of staff, council reviews its financial situation quarterly and adjusts the spending priorities accordingly. In terms of revenues, OPPI had revenues of $1,556,944 during 2010, which is presented in the first pie chart. Approximately 58% of OPPI's revenues come from membership fees, a revenue source that is considered to be relatively reliable. The other 42% of revenues are generated from non-membership fee sources, such as job ad mailings and journal advertising. Industry standards set by nonprofit associations suggest that 60% for association revenues should come from membership fees and 40% from non-membership fee sources. OPPI continually works towards achieving that 60-40 split in revenue. In terms of expenses, OPPI had total expenses in that year of $1,472,553, which is presented in the second pie chart. Approximately 58% of the Institute's expenses were to fund direct or indirect membership services. The remaining 42% is spent on administration and governance. Direct services include the Ontario Planning Journal and professional development initiatives. Indirect services include policy development initiatives, efforts to build general recognition for the profession, such as the OPPI branding statement, media training for staff and members associated with the policy work of the Institute, the work of the Discipline Committee in upholding the Institute's code of practice, and support to the districts for local and strategic programming. The Institute's reserve, which include the unexpended funds accumulated as at the end of 2010, is $239,807. With respect to membership fees for the upcoming year, 2012, an increase will occur to full, provisional, retired, public associate, and non-practicing members' fees by 4.9% as a decision of Council. Just to clarify, this increase does not apply to student members. In summary, Council is committed to a strong and viable OPPI that serves the needs of its members. On behalf of Council, everyone here that I've worked with, I would like to thank Marianne Rangam, Executive Director, and Robert Fraser, the Director of Finance, for their assistance throughout the year in managing the financial affairs of the Institute. Their work has made it much easier for members of Council to be able to do our job, monitoring these numbers and making sure that everything is still going the way it is intended to go. A full set of audited financial statements is available for review at the OPPI office, and you can contact Robert Fraser to obtain a copy of that if you wish to do so. Thank you.
There will be an opportunity to ask questions on that report as well. I'm going to give the President's report, and then after that there'll be an opportunity for questions on that as well. So I want to encourage that if people have the interest to ask those questions, and those reports will be available through the journal and also through the website. So it's a great opportunity for me to provide to you today the results of the vote with respect to planning for the future. The closing of the ballots was just yesterday, and we've now been able to count those ballots. And it is interesting to note that there were 773 members who voted in this very important and landmark decision around raising our professional standards. I'm very pleased to advise that 721 members have said yes, which is a resounding 93% in favor of adopting and working through those new standards that have been set. So that is very important news for all. I also would like to advise that 730 of you on the second part of the ballot voted to have the opportunity for electronic voting in the future. So that is 94% in favor of electronic voting. There will be a member outreach today or Monday to all the members of OPPI of the outcome of that vote. And Christine, we will be communicating that across the country to the affiliates. So that's a very important move forward on behalf of the profession in Canada and also, of course, in this province. So that is a really important piece for us. It brings perhaps to some key achievements and accomplishments of OPPI in the last 2 years, the last year since we had a chance to present to you. And I think the first interesting reference is around conducting a vote electronically. We've heard a lot at the conference, and we've certainly heard a lot of discussion in the hallways about social media and about the communication tools at OPPI as we move forward for the next 25 years will have to position us to be a strong profession, both in terms of member service and connectivity, but also in the images that we project out to the world around us that so many of us work in. Very pleased to report that Council has just come through a very detailed communication audit, has looked at the kinds of tools and services that you as members want, has been able to build on the membership survey that was undertaken to get that feedback, has had a number of focus groups and small meetings, both with members of OPPI and with members outside of OPPI, other organizations, nonprofits, corporate businesses, to really frame a really good perspective on where to go forward. The other day at Council on October the 12th, Council approved a go-forward plan to begin to implement some new measures in the new year in a very careful and strategic manner. Raza Manaji, I know one of our outgoing Council members, was a key lead on this, as when Diana Razano was going to take us forward into the new perspective on communication materials. The revitalized Ontario Planning Journal is something now you continue to see. We know it's a very important tool, and I do see Glenn Miller in the room today. I wanted to acknowledge his extensive and very valued work over 25 years, Glenn. As we look to using the Ontario Planning Journal as a key communication tool for the kinds of work that we do as planners, it's really important to maintain an important component on the kinds of integrity of complexity in projects we work with, at the same time to look at other social media opportunities, particularly looking at blogs, Twitter, all those kinds of things. So in the new year, you will hear more from Council as Council wrestles on how to go forward with some of those important tools in a careful manner, respecting that we are an institute, we are not individuals, and looking at the overall perspective. So that is a really important piece that you'll see coming in the next year. I think certainly the district involvement in some of the continuous professional learning and the networking has been certainly a resounding success this year. Each district has many members. In fact, you might be interested to know, sorry, Christine, that some of the districts here outweigh in terms of numbers, the members across the country in terms of the affiliates. We have a lot of very good organization happening at the district level and a good place for you to be connected. One of the aims of the communication plan changes is to ensure that you as a member, you may live in one district, work in another. You may be a consultant who works in many districts. People want to have access to be able to self-serve themselves in terms of the information they're aware of, how they can get to events, how they can learn about initiatives taking place in those areas. And that's a key commitment that will be going forward. So the districts are very active. I hope that you've had the opportunity to go to a district event and be involved. And that is a really key, important part of the work for all of us at OPPI. In terms of our policy work, healthy communities, which is where I started in terms of my role on council, and very, very pleased to see that that has continued and has become very much a hallmark of who we are as planners. When we started that work, we didn't take the lens that aren't planners great. We know that we are. And we heard last evening that maybe there's an invisibility cloak we need to unveil or take away. I think that we are not in a situation where there is invisibility. I think the work we do is very important in the communities that we work in, and that work is certainly founded on the value we provide to our communities. There's a lot of complexities in the political environment. All of you work in a very different and varied environment, and the opportunity to really bring forward our long-standing commitment to putting forward healthy communities, active communities, inclusive communities is something that we are very proud of as all OPPI members. And certainly this year we've put out not 3, but 4 calls to action, really building on the key themes that are resonating across the province in the work that's being done, whether it's in the north, east, west, or the south. So I'm very proud to say we're continuing on in that work, and those calls to action are very key. You would have noted by now that we have a symposium next year. That's September 21 in Markham on active transportation. I encourage you to get involved in that and to certainly come out and be part of it. That will be another key piece to the healthy community work. Marianne's just showing me it's on the back of your conference flyer. I also want to note that we have just won the Ontario, and I do reference Ontario, Public Health Association Award of Excellence as a nonprofit organization who they believe has put forward an advanced profile on looking at the social determinants of health, building connections in community, and being committed to healthy communities. And that's pretty astounding to be able to be given an award by a sister organization we have a partnership with, but one that recognized us for the work that we do as volunteers at this institute. So please be very proud of that work and that award, and it's something that we will hold dear to us as we carry forward with that information. In terms of other partnerships, our partnership with Heart and Stroke continues, Ontario. Our partnership looking at outreaching with the other organizations and other professions, including BUILD, looking at opportunities to liaise and connect across the province continues. We had some great discussions last evening with some of the key award recipients, and certainly looking at ensuring we have parks and recreation contingents. We have a good sense of outreach around all the facets that we are. We really are into a key piece at OPPI around implementation. I think the last number of years has helped to heighten our profile in terms of the value of the work that we do. The Planning for the Future project, which has been so significant in the 7-8 years that it has been in fruition, and we've got some members in this audience who've worked diligently hour after hour, Ron Keeble, to bring that to the light. And these are very significant for us. We have moved up in terms of understanding what kind of standards we should have of practice, what kind of across the country, the kinds of things we should be looking at in terms of having no barriers across the country, looking at the ethics that we bring forward. Those hours have been very significant volunteer hours. I know Mary Lou Tanner, you've particularly been across the province at many sessions, providing that leadership and being able to answer questions. We've held a webinar that had a lot of good information, and we're very happy to be part of a national body that's going to move forward with standards. The vote, what that does for us, it allows us to position ourselves as OPPI to look at the assurance of those standards and maintaining those standards, but also to look at processes. And our process of now beginning to look at inter-affiliate agreements and looking at opportunity for shared services is underway. And that's something that Council will be able to come back to and update you on as we go forward in the next year or so Charles Langtree, as our membership chair, you've been very involved on that level. Brian Brophy, and there are so many, I don't want to leave anyone out, but it's certainly been a very extraordinary opportunity to work at the national level and importantly at the provincial level. And what this may mean to you as a member is that your profession and the value of your profession in society is an opportunity to raise that heightened awareness, to ensure there's good cross-sector accountability for the work that we do, and a recognition of the importance of that work. And I think you'll find that in the years ahead will put us in a very good light as we move forward. In terms of some of the other key things, we've had a terrific, I think, outreach with students. That was a turning point a number of years ago in our strategic goal to really focus on students, and they are the best and the brightest. They are coming forward to lead this profession, and we have today as Student Day. So today is a phenomenal opportunity to recognize students, to chat with them, to learn, to begin to talk with them. I find we learn a lot more from the students than perhaps they learn from us, but let's not share that with them too soon. There is an opportunity after the self-regulation forum to have an opportunity for the Media Cafe, so I encourage you to do that. I know the Queen's students are arriving at 9 o'clock by bus. Hopefully that's timely with no construction. The Waterloo students arrived last night. We have students from Ryerson, and we have students from Guelph. We have students from all University of Toronto and York. So it's very important to have those students here today, and we welcome you. That outreach through the leadership that Christine is showing, a student liaison committee, through Pam White and outreach is very important to our future. So those are important highlights from our year ahead. So in terms of the opportunity to serve you as president, there's many opportunities to be involved as a volunteer at OPPI. I'm very grateful to have been able to serve as your president for the last 2 years and to have served you nationally before that for 2 years on National Council. My work as recognition director before that, Diana, was very valuable and led to the healthy community work that I'm so proud of. I think when we step up to the plate to take any role at OPPI, we know we're doing that, we hope, with everyone's best interest in mind. At the same time, it's a pretty tall order to fill the shoes of so many very qualified and capable people in this room. I've had the opportunity to work with many of you as volunteers, and I think we are so strong by who we are and what we represent. I really encourage us all to continue in that vein. I think we are ready to take it to the next step. I think we are ready as a profession to move forward for stronger legislation for our profession. And I think we'll learn more about that, of course, this morning. But I think it's incredibly important to showcase the kinds of skills we have, and certainly to look at the competencies we are and the unique opportunity we have to serve the public interest. I was intrigued by the panel yesterday morning in terms of looking at some reflections, and those reflections were insightful, they were humorous, there was a good opportunity to share stories along the way. We certainly had that opportunity in the last day or so with our 25th anniversary. But perhaps what's a resounding piece is of public interest. Planning is not for the light of heart, it's not for the big paycheck. We do this because we really value and we really believe what society is offering in the communities that we live in. And certainly as planners, it's that commitment to the public interest that I think has put us all in a really good position to provide what we can to better our communities. And that's where I think OPPI in the future will continue to focus its efforts, with your good help as key professionals who are members of the association, to carry that forward. So it is that very important piece to me that I'm very proud to have been part of and proud to have worked with all of you on. I'd like at this point to just acknowledge Rob Voigt, little handshake. Rob has prepared a very interesting little video clip for us. We're going to show now. He's done this entirely as a volunteer, and we thought we'd show that just as a little bit of encouragement around our future social media and our future ability to be trendy and hip, if you will. So, Rob, thank you for making me look trendy and hip this morning, hopefully. So if we could have that video roll, that would be terrific, and I'll be right back to you.
The Ontario Professional Planners Institute, celebrating 25 years of planners joining together and advancing the knowledge, expertise, and innovation that have been building the profession and the communities of Ontario. Planners are skilled professionals who work to improve the quality and livability of our communities, be they rural, suburban, or urban. Some of the ways we do this are by balancing the interests of communities with the interests of individuals, providing for wise use of natural resources, and protecting the environment, managing cultural and heritage resources, and promoting the efficient development of communities so they are more affordable, compact, diverse, and livable. Planners work in a variety of settings. Some work in the private sector as consultants, while others work for government, community, and nonprofit groups, and still others at universities and colleges. As professionals, we are required to put the public interest first, dedicated to achieving benefits for the entire community, something that sets us apart as professionals. 25 years of OPPI. In 1986 and 87, the 4 Ontario chapters of the Canadian Institute of Planners became the Ontario Professional Planners Institute. By joining together, OPPI became the voice of the planning profession across the province. Since then, OPPI has continued to grow, with its members building upon their collective expertise and vision. In 1994, the Ontario Legislature passed the Ontario Professional Planners Institute Act. Under this, only people who meet the high membership standards of OPPI can call themselves registered professional planners. And we are continually striving to enhance our standards to reflect advances in planning practice and promote the public interest. OPPI and its sister planning institutes across Canada are engaged in developing modernized, consistent membership standards as well, to take the profession to the next generation. Opportunities. OPPI connects professionals locally, regionally, and provincially, north and south, east and west, and across the nation through CIP. It also continues to improve connections between planners and other related professions, such as engineering, architecture, landscape architecture, law, and health professions. Progressiveness. OPPI is also an active partner with communities and organizations. In fact, OPPI planners are committed to creating communities that are more livable and successful, planning healthy communities through vision and leadership. And we're involved in all aspects of building and managing the places that we all call home, places where people live and work and learn and play. And OPPI continues to be involved with planning research in ways that no other organization does. Professionalism. Throughout its 25 years, OPPI has been developing improved levels of practice and professionalism, keeping members informed of advances in professional practice, providing leadership in the development of public policy, offering courses, and ensuring that members meet high standards by following a professional code of practice. OPPI addresses contemporary planning issues head-on through its calls to action, and future calls to action will continue to set the bar high for planners in Ontario and also act as a hallmark across the profession. Inspiration. Finally, taken all together, OPPI means much more than the sum of its parts. The collective actions of OPPI's more than 3,500 members, its publications, its working groups, mentoring of students and newly graduated planners, skill building, calls to action, and conferences and symposium all inspire. So there you have it, the Ontario Professional Planners Institute. We're looking forward to the next 25 years together as professional planners and the communities we plan for.
Thank you, Rob. I know many of you might have attended a session that Rob had at the conference, and certainly the opportunity to talk with him. He's got a very unique practice area. It's very interesting. This is now an opportunity for any of you who might have questions on either the Treasurer's report or the President's report. And I would look to you. There are microphones, I believe there are microphones. I can't see the microphones. Loretta's holding the microphone. If anyone wishes to ask a question, this would be a great opportunity for you to do so. Of course, people are standing when they're running away outside the door. So does anyone have any questions on the Treasurer's report? Okay. On the President's report? Okay. There being no questions on those two reports, we'll carry on with our agenda. The next key item is looking at items for membership consideration. And in your agenda, you will note the appointment of the auditor. We have an important role of the auditor for OPPI. I'm going to read the following motion to you. That the firm Creans LaRose Chartered Accountants be appointed as the auditor to audit OPPI's financial records for the fiscal year ending 2011. I'm going to ask for a mover and a seconder here, and then see if there's any discussion. A mover, please. Thank you, Steve. Steve Willis. And Ron Keeble seconded. All in favor of the appointment of Creans LaRose as the auditor for OPPI? Okay, thank you for that show of hands. course, I erred there. I should have asked you for discussion first, but hopefully you'll forgive me, and I called the vote, and we voted. Terrific. The approval of actions. The next is I'm going to ask that the membership of the Institute approve the actions of Council taken during 2010 and 2011. Again, I'm going to ask for a mover and a seconder. Looking over that side of the room. Thank you, Paul. And I saw two hands up. I saw Pam's hand up first, Pamela's, as a seconder, and then I will ask for discussion. Any discussion? What a quiet group. No discussion. So I'm going to call the vote and ask that the membership of the Institute approve the actions of Council taken during 2010-2011. All in favor, please? Terrific. Thank you for that. That is carried. So there were no new business items provided at the beginning of the meeting, so we're going to skip right through to the election results. And very importantly, I'd like to thank the nomination committee for their work to nominate members. We've established a volunteer recruitment program last year. Really important to look at the kinds of people we need to be able to come to key leadership roles and to be able to do that outreach and recruitment work. I'd like to look to the nomination committee, and I think their names are going to come up here in just a moment, in terms of the names of the nominating committee. But I'll carry on in terms of, I'd like to thank Nancy Passato, who's the chair of the nomination committee. Not sure if Nancy's here in the room today. We know she's been doing enormous work on moving us forward. Jeff Port from Northern District. Cindy Rottenberg-Walker, I know that Cindy is here from Toronto District. George McKibben, Western Lake Ontario District Rep. Andrea Burry, Oak Ridges District Rep. Ron Clark, Eastern District Rep. Andrea Lee, Lakelands District Rep. And Jennifer Passy from Southwest District Rep. That is your nominating committee. We owe them a great deal of gratitude for the hard work they do behind the scenes to look at how we can ensure strong recruitment for all of our committees and our leadership roles. I'd like to announce the results of the nominating committee report, and the profiles of the 2011-2012 candidates were announced in the e-newsletter some time ago with a call for those interested in standing for election. In terms of returning to council, I would like them to stand when I call their names. So returning to OPPI council for a second term is Roy Bax from Eastern District. Toronto District Rep. David Akawa is returning for a second term. David, please stand. Northern District Rep. Don McConnell, please stand. Oak Ridges District Rep. Bob Short. Lakelands District Rep. Robert Armstrong. Members elected to council for a first term by acclamation are Western Ontario District Rep. Bill Jansen. Bill is from Hamilton. He's not able to join us here today, but very much looks forward to taking on the leadership role in Western Lake Ontario. Southwest District Rep. Ted Holloway. I know that Ted is here. Ted, thank you for standing. And I'd like to also introduce to you President-elect. So the next president following Mary Lee will be Paul Stagel. Paul, if you could stand, please. So this is going to be the council of 2011-2012, and look forward to hearing all of the great things that you will do as a council as you carry on. I'm sorry, and for some reason it's not on my list to maintain those of you who are staying on council. So Marilyn Radman, would you like to stand up? She was looking very grateful for a moment. Professional practice, Diana Rosneff. Director of Recognition. Director of Policy, Drew Sample. Charles, you must stand up. Sorry, you're not out of the game yet. Charles Langtree, membership. So this is your council carrying forward for the next year or two. Thank you so much. Now we've said this many times, but worth repeating, that OPPI would be nothing without its volunteers. Last night we were able to show the volunteer wall, and it's in the annual report. So those are all the people who've contributed this year. There are some 450 people who've contributed in so many significant ways to OPPI, and we want to thank all of you for that contribution and involvement. And we hope to find you'll see more names as the years unfold, and we see the continuation of those key names. I'd like to acknowledge the outgoing members of council. We had the opportunity last evening at the gala celebration to acknowledge their hard work and their contribution. I would like to acknowledge Daniel Wolfson, the student rep outgoing from 2010-2011. I'm not sure if Daniel's with us here this morning. We did have the opportunity to congratulate and thank him last evening. Enormous work on ensuring good communication for the students around the planning for the future, on outreach around sustainable committee project, and looking at the interface between the schools and the connections. He's left a really strong legacy for Christine to continue in her role as OPPI student delegate. Rosalind Menage, known to all as Roz, is outgoing council member for Western Lake, Ontario. Roz, we had an opportunity to speak about you last evening, and we know that you certainly provide a great impetus with a new district of Western Lake, Ontario, creating that district and the new formation, the structure, and looked certainly to a lot of the networking and learning opportunities that you provide in that district. And we look forward to hearing where you go in terms of future opportunities, and wish you very well on your success. In terms of Steve Jefferson, Steve over here is also outgoing from Southwest District. He will be leaving council and the position of treasurer. We're very grateful, Steve, for your leadership in these years as well. And we know the conference in Guelph, you're very instrumental with that last year, and also clearly looking at our financial records and maintaining our work. I would very much like to have a round of applause for those 3 outgoing members of council. I would like to have a planning approval this morning, but apparently there are none to be had. Or maybe even an appeal. Maybe at the Student Media Cafe we can have some appeals and planning approvals. And if you're just new here today and you have no idea what I'm talking about, you'll just have to ask around. This is the AGM, of course. One has to be serious. I have the enormous pleasure at this time to pass the gavel, so to speak, to move on. I'm not sure exactly what time it is. I predicted I may be running behind time. I'm ahead of time. Well, there's no need to delay things. It is a great honor to have served, as I've noted, but it's also a time to ensure that there's good transitional ability in our organization. We are only as strong as all of those that work together to make this an important institute and to make planning in this province what it is today. I had the opportunity to serve with Mary Lou Tanner on council a number of years ago when she was a Central Ontario district rep. And interestingly, she led the transformation of our district revitalization, if you will, from what was then 4 districts to 7. And that was a lot of hard work that she and Martin Rendell persevered over a number of years to really see that new structure evolve. And I think as she looks out and sees the opportunity to work with now these 7 new districts, it's been a great pleasure to see how that's unfolded and transformed our connectability within our organization. Mary Lou is also very committed, as all of you know, to raising our professional standards and to looking out in terms of our future of the profession. She was instrumental in the planning for the future work on behalf of OPPI. We owe her great debt of gratitude for all the work she did to ensure that we were well informed and that there was a good sense of accountability across this. She has just come back from 2 years. We know she didn't go anywhere, but she came back from 2 years serving on CIP Council. And OPPI provides very strong leadership on CIP Council. But it is not an easy job because we are a very large affiliate and we're working across the country with smaller affiliates and other affiliates who have very different interests sometimes. We always need to bring the diplomacy and yet the strength to that table at the national level to ensure that the interests of OPPI are very well served, at the same time while serving the interests of all of us in the country. So Mary Lou, it is my great pleasure to introduce to all of you the President of OPPI for 2011 to 2012, Mary Lou Tanner. And I have a special tribute for her. I have a purple President ribbon. I'm going to give her President ribbon. I'll let her stick it on herself, just in case I put it upside down or something horrible. Ready? She's going to rip mine off in a minute. I'll save her that trouble. No. I'll wear it for the day.
Thank you. Wow, I can't believe that 2 years have gone by so quickly. In my notes, it says, say kind words of thanks and wisdom, and I'm not sure about the wisdom part, so I'm going to start with the thanks. And my thanks begin with Sue Cumming, who has served on OPPI Council for 7 years. I think that's the longest continuous tour of duty in OPPI's history as Director of Recognition and then in your role as President-elect and President. And Sue spoke somewhat understated about her contribution to the work of our institute and the leadership she's shown in our institute. It was, in fact, the work of her and Greg Daly, but Sue in particular, that started us on our journey of taking healthy communities into the forefront of our work in public policy and the contribution that we have made to planning practice, but also the relationships that we have built in the public health community and more broadly with the province of Ontario through a number of pieces of work, the calls to action, the Healthy Communities Handbook, and coining the phrase, "You are where you live," which is forefront of what we are doing. This has been a highly, highly successful initiative every year. The work gets stronger and more robust and more recognized. The award this year was incredible from the Ontario Public Health Association. The handbook, the symposiums that we've had, and that all started some years ago when Sue was Director of Recognition. Now, you would think that would be enough for most people to contribute to the profession, but through her work at CIP and OPPI Council, We have seen the professionalism side of our Institute's work and our business be at the forefront of what Sue has done. I don't know when your family actually saw you, and she moved to Kingston during all of this from Toronto. Many years ago, this is how far back we go together in our work, when the New Horizons for the Planning Profession report came forward, it was Sue and I that moved and seconded that OPPI embark on this journey of raising our professional standards for practicing planners in the accreditation of university programs in this country and in Ontario. And it is really quite something to be here today to see the vote in Ontario succeed so strongly and be part of that as well. It is truly a legacy that you will leave for the future of our profession. I know students are a particular passion of yours with your work at Queen's University, my alma mater, and it is a generous, generous gift to our profession and to the future. So I have two things for you. First is your past president ribbon. Are you number 14?
No, 13.
Oh,
Very
lucky 13. So this is for you.
Thank you.
And I also have for you a certificate of recognition from the Institute.
Thank you.
But it is not simply, it just seems too simple to say thank you for all that we owe you. But thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you. Oh, perfect. It's a photo opportunity.
OPPI has named a scholarship in Sue's name for next year, and it will be awarded to students who are studying in the area and doing research on healthy, sustainable communities. So we will award it at next year's conference. We hope you're at the symposium next year to award it, as we saw Jerry and Ron here last night for the scholarships in their name, and we look forward to working on those submissions and working with students to see the wonderful work that they are going to do. My notes also say that I'm to provide a few inspiring words about the coming year, so let me try to do that. I want to begin, as so many have at this conference, talking about 1986. 1986 was the year I was finishing my undergraduate degree in geography at Queen's with Sherry White. I don't know if Sherry's in the room, but Sherry White and I were in that geography class at Queen's, and I wasn't sure where my future career path lay. So I went to the Student Counseling Center at Queen's, and the counselor said, well, take an aptitude test and we'll see where it lands. So I did, and I went back a couple weeks later, and she said to me, you know, you're so far off the end of the scale for urban planning that you really shouldn't do anything else. And she said, my name is Susan Kadir, and my husband is Mohammed Kadir, the director of the planning school at Queen's, and I've told him about you because I've never seen anything like this, and he really does want to meet you. And that pretty much did it for me. But in all seriousness, I am the artsy daughter of a geologist who supported his daughters in education, and that is the real reason I'm here today. I want to say to you that this institute is stronger than it has ever been. There are two key things that I see in OPPI that probably have gone through the generations of presidents but really are entrenched in the organization, and that's, the first is innovation. What we see in the work that we do, whether it is the transition in the journal this year with the retirement of Glenn Miller as our editor to Lynn Morrow, and really a seamless transition with a quality publication and material that's meaningful to you, the first planning schools issue, which I think is very, very important to our work. The policy work that we do, raising the bar in professionalism, the recognition that work that we do in terms of the awards that we provide, the scholarships we provide to students, but really celebrating the best of our profession, and the transformation of volunteer leadership, where you see a strong team of counselors at OPPI and staff, and that you can always count on the fact that your institute is well in hand and looking to the future of this profession. The other that I find very important, a citizen volunteer that I worked with a long time ago said, I want to get to the I, implementation. And I think that's a key focus of what OPPI is doing and what will be coming in the next 2 years is I am your president. Certainly the enhancement of the Ontario Planning Journal in terms of content and moving it to an online choice for you. The communications work that we are going to do in terms of moving into digital media and seeing some changes in how we talk with each other and to each other, and how we provide the ability for each of us to engage in ways with our profession and our peers that haven't been with us before. The important conversations we're going to have about self-regulation starting this morning, what that means for profession and what we as an institute want to do. I want to commit to you that although I won't have any more Frank Fridays because that was a Sue specialty, I will be starting a presidential blog in our e-newsletter in the coming months. But I am, of course, available to you by phone or email at any point in time. Finally, I want to commit to you that I am in the north, as Jeff Salentano said yesterday, but I will be visiting all districts and hopefully attending major events in each district in my term as your president. I owe many thanks to people for my ability to take on this role. First, the wonderful team that I work with at Niagara Region, from the staff above me to the people who work with me. Ken Forgeron is here today. We work very closely, and their support means that I'm able to take this on. The council and staff at OPPI, the outgoing councillors who I had a great joy of working with, and the new councillors, all of whom I have a relationship with already, which I'm very much looking forward to, and the team that is staying on. And of course, my family, who provide me with incredible support and never let me get ahead of myself. I'm going to close with some words from Nelson Mandela, who is a personal hero of mine, and he said this: "A leader is but a trusted servant." I truly thank you for this opportunity and the trust you have placed in me. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We are actually a bit ahead of schedule, so we need to change over the front table and get the presentations loaded for the self-regulation session. She's telling me I have to keep going.
You have to adjourn the meeting.
I'm sorry. I have to adjourn the meeting. I need a motion for that. Who's going to move that? Bruce Curtis is going to move that. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. We are now going to move into the session on self-regulation. We need to get the PowerPoint loaded up and a couple of other speakers up here. But please stay in the room and stay in your seats, because this is an important conversation for our profession. Thank you.
Anne and Ian are coming up. Great.